Back in studio, Joe Musso, Emory Hunt, Bryant, McFadden. Fellas, I'm not sure I saw this coming. I thought points, but 80-something points between these two teams. Mac, I can't help but feel you get the hats and T-shirts earlier than anyone has since 2009 a week ago. Did you feel an exhale from the Bills early on in this game?
You kind of, watching them, you felt that way. Like, okay, they clinched their division a week ago. You're playing against the Rams at that time with the Rams, what, below 500?
That would have been 5 and 6 coming in.
5 and 6 coming in. You're like, okay, competitive team.
6 and 6 coming in. Now 7 and 6 on the season.
500 team coming in. You're like competitive team, but we should be able to take care of our business because of what we've done up until this point. They came out flat. And yes, even though the Rams, before this game started off, they were a 500 team. They're a better 500 team than most. Number one, I rave about Sean McVay week in and week out. He is the best coach in the NFC West. And when you give him an opportunity to prepare, not to mention being healthy, they can do numbers.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford today, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. Puka Nacua, 162 yards on 12 targets and 2 touchdowns. And you had a pedestrian-like day from Cooper Kupp. Kyron Williams got into the end zone as well. This is an offense when they're healthy and their quarterback is cooking like he cooked today, they can do numbers on anyone. And I can tell you this much, they kind of opened the Pandora's box against the Bills defensively. And I said this, if you want to have success against Buffalo, run down the teeth of their defense. Don't try to hit the perimeter. Run down the teeth of their defense. Go back to last week in the snow before Christian McCaffrey went out. He had success doing what? Running north and south.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the running game, they were able to display today the play-action game. I mean, the play-action game was open for Matthew Stafford. So this was a much-needed win and a very, very convincing win for the Rams because this is a team, if you're Seattle, I know we talked about maybe looking over your shoulder at the San Francisco 49ers. That's more so about the name and the talent.
Yeah.
But the real team you need to be mindful of.
Record you're looking at.
Yeah, the record and the real team you need to be mindful of is the Los Angeles Rams.
It's the buffet offense, if we're talking about, because everybody eats with Los Angeles offense, because we saw the running game and the running backs have success. We saw both receivers have success. And when you're able to operate with that level of balance, Matthew Stafford was barely touched in the pocket, so he was able to get these passes off. And then on the other side, the defense with those young edge rushers collapsing the pocket around Josh Allen caused those problems early in the game. Remember, they were blowing out the Bills early. Then the Bills caught fire, got back in the game, was a live wire to win this thing, so they kind of took their foot off the gas, but the Bills kept going. But the Rams found a way to get back to what was working in the first half. Their run game, shrink the ball game a little bit, limit those possessions. So I thought this was a bang-up job by that Rams offense.
This also snaps a 15-game winning streak of regular season wins in December and January for Buffalo.
Wow.
Doesn't often happen at this point in the season.
Yeah.
Josh Allen-led teams, all things being equal, indoors, outdoors, snow, controlled environment, they win ball games this time of year. It leads me to the question, and it might be too broad for just coming off of this game, but do they have enough? Are they complete enough to do what they're ultimately trying to do? Because barring Kansas City coming back to them, it's going to be a road route at some point. In that AFC title game, we know Josh Allen, again, can do it anywhere. But defensively, this one brings into question if they do have enough.
And that's the biggest question for me when you look at the AFC teams in terms of playoff implications, right? I feel like the Buffalo Bills, they're the one team in the AFC, they need to have home field advantage. They need to be able to play in those elements that presents themselves in terms of weather because they benefit in those said environments. When you look at traveling, the issue that I have in terms of their success, they can't really run the football. They don't have that feature guy. I think James Cook could be the feature guy, but they don't stay patient. Today, their quarterback was the leading rusher. In terms of their defense, because of the lack of size in the interior, they're vulnerable when teams attack them right down the teeth of their defense. And Greg Rousseau is their best dominant edge rusher. When he's not impactful in the ball game, they don't really get anything going. To your point, Matthew Stafford was not uncomfortable at any given time. So if you're the Buffalo Bills, losing today was very, very important. Yes, you have clinched your division, so you will have at least one game at home. But if you look at what is going on in the AFC, with you chasing the Kansas City Chiefs, with the Pittsburgh Steelers right on your heels, and next week you have to go to Detroit. You might be in a position where you have 2 losses down the stretch, knowing how important home field advantage could be for the Buffalo Bills.
The Detroit Lions look a lot like the Rams to me when you think about what they do.
Yeah,
right?
it's an interesting point there.
And you think about what happened with Buffalo and how they lost some of these games, they have a common theme. We saw them lose to the Rams. Why? Run game, play action. They lost to Baltimore. We know what that looked like, run game and able to dominate the trenches. Detroit's going to be a tough game for them. I feel like when teams are able to, and you see this in college football too, where if you have a dominant run game, your defensive line is going to be dominant stopping the run. If you want to spread and pass the ball, your defense will be able to get after the quarterback. Because they're facing these teams that really lean into who they are running the football, that's where they have the biggest problem.
It does come in a loss, but we do momentarily have to quickly here highlight the performance by Josh Allen. 6 total touchdowns, 424 total yards. We were having the MVP conversation earlier on, and where he situates, obviously, by the numbers at the top, Saquon 2, and then you're looking at a quarterback in Lamar Jackson who's got better numbers than Josh Allen. But these numbers, what do they do for that MVP attempt? 6 and 424. Did he get closer to an MVP trophy today?
There were 2 throws in this ball game that made me say that was an MVP throw. It was a touchdown to shoeless Mac Hollins, and then the ball down to the 1-yard line to Khalil Shakir.
Yeah.
That was in between a defender that was closing in. Those are the type of plays you want to see your quarterback make, not only in a game that's still competitive, but in the midst of the battle, just making some wild throws. So those plays alone, and the numbers just speak for themselves, but watching him make those throws, that was where you say, okay, these are some MVP-type moments that he's also piling on some numbers with.
We rarely see a player create separation in terms of the MVP race in a loss.
Yeah, right.
That rarely happens. But because of what Josh Allen did in basically carrying the team, putting the team on his back, I think he created separation, clearly from Saquon Barkley, clearly from Lamar Jackson. To your point, over 400 yards of total offense, 6 touchdowns.
3 and 3, only Otto Graham.
Only Otto Graham.
No face mask.
No face mask, right? Leather helmets, whatever you want to. That's how good he was today.
Yeah.
And he needed to, and they came up just a tad short. But like I said, you don't usually see guys create separation in the MVP race when they're a part of the losing team. But his performance was that good, in which I do believe he created separation. Now, when you look at Saquon Barkley, had a really good day, didn't have any touchdowns, had a good day. They won. It's like, well, Saquon probably had an opportunity to gain traction. Well, we thought so before this 4:25 kickoff that happened in La La Land, where Josh Allen said, you know what, I'm going to get off to a slow start just to be able to show you guys I can do whatever I want to do at any given time. It did come in a loss, but to your point, when it comes to the MVP race, I think he created separation from the pack.
They didn't lose. They just ran out of time.
Oh, that might have been it right there.
No.
Allen, no MVPs, no Super Bowl titles. This performance maybe gets him closer to one and further from another as that route to the 1 seed now even tougher following a loss in LA. Most points scored in a loss in Bills history. Right here. 42 points usually gets it done. Not against Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams, who are alive in that NFC West.